And she's changed. She's not the daughter I knew. My daughter was a much more giving, loving person than she is now.
So here's the question no one in mainstream media dares to ask out loud, but that millions have whispered behind closed doors and across the internet for years. What if Meghan Markle never gave birth to her children at all? Not maybe, not possibly. What if it was all one of the most calculated public illusions ever orchestrated by a royal-adjacent figure? Now, before you roll your eyes, just listen. We're not talking about vague conspiracy theories floating in some obscure online forum. Meghan's own father, Thomas Markle, went on record claiming she had her eggs frozen years ago. Then, her half-brother Thomas Jr. came forward, alleging that she had a hysterectomy, an operation that makes pregnancy biologically impossible. And these events reportedly happened before Prince Harry even entered the picture. If those claims are true, then the entire narrative we've been fed about their fairy tale family comes crashing down. And if this is the kind of truth bomb, content you don't hear anywhere else, but want more of, hit that subscribe button right now. Because in this rabbit hole, we only go deeper. The more you dig into Meghan's past, the more the timelines, the financial reality, and the public appearances just don't line up. Let's start with the medical piece. Because if you believe her own family, Meghan froze her eggs during her first marriage to Trevor Engelson, years before her royal makeover. That's not suspicious in itself. Lots of women do it. But here's where it gets sketchy. Keeping those eggs frozen isn't cheap. Sources report storage can cost up to $9,000 a month. And this was back when Meghan was just a supporting cast member on Suits, earning around $7,000 per episode. And that's when she even appeared. Across 108 episodes, she clocked only 138 minutes of total screen time. That's barely enough time to build a character arc, let alone bank the kind of cash needed to maintain high-cost fertility procedures. So, if she really did freeze those eggs, how long could she have realistically kept them? And if she had a hysterectomy, as her brother claims, then she wouldn't even be able to carry a child at all. And yet, Meghan has 2 kids. This is where things take a turn from curious to downright suspicious. People started digging, not out of hate, but confusion. Where are the usual mother-child moments? Where are the hugs, the chaos, the candid snapshots of life with toddlers? What we get instead are stiff, perfectly curated images. The kids rarely make eye contact. Meghan herself often appears emotionally detached, sometimes even visibly uncomfortable when holding them. At Disneyland, keen-eyed viewers notice something strange. The little girl seen with Meghan one day wore a completely different dress the next, and didn't look like the same child at all. Was it just a wardrobe change, or a different girl altogether? That's not all. The internet lost its mind when a video surfaced, now dubbed the moon bump clip, showing Meghan walking through what appeared to be a hospital corridor during her supposed pregnancy. But as she squats, the bump shifts and folds unnaturally, almost like foam. This wasn't a subtle twitch or a weird camera angle. People slowed it down, zoomed in, and frame by frame, it didn't scream baby. It screamed prop, and let's talk about timing. This hospital video reportedly took place during strict pandemic lockdowns, when maternity wards were on near military lockdown. No cameras, no visitors, no media crews. Yet somehow, Meghan, without any royal duties at the time, was allegedly walking the halls of a medical facility in full glam mode, bump bouncing like a Halloween costume. That's not just odd, it's borderline illegal. But let's not get lost in just one clip, because when you zoom out and look at the full picture, it becomes clear this isn't about one video or one moment. It's about a pattern. In interviews, Meghan's demeanor shifts when her children are brought up. Her tone flattens. Her expressions lose warmth. There's a visible disconnection. It's like watching someone perform motherhood, not live it. Even her own father said, "She's not the same person I raised." That's not a statement you make lightly, especially when your daughter's public image hinges on compassion, empathy, and maternal glow. Then there's the missing paperwork. No confirmed birth hospital records, no official statements from medical staff, no paparazzi candids catching her mid-pregnancy, despite the Sussexes' supposedly non-stop media hounding. For a couple constantly photographed, not having a single unscripted pregnancy shot is more than odd. It's statistically improbable. And the strangeness doesn't stop there. Reports say Meghan had her royal title removed from one child's US birth certificate, only to have it quietly put back. Later, that's not just drama, it's legal gray area. In the United States, royal titles are not considered legal identifiers. Yet somehow, the Sussex Kids documents, Archie and Lilibet, slipped through the system, reportedly confusing immigration officials so much that King Charles had to be contacted for clarification. What does that tell you? That something's off. Something's very off. And Prince Harry, he's not a clueless bystander in all of this. He's not being led by the hand or duped into playing house. He's playing along, actively. Reports suggest he pushed for his children to retain HRH titles, her Royal Highness, even after stepping away from official royal duties, a move that was explicitly rejected by Queen Elizabeth before her passing. But somehow, Charles caved. The man who was supposed to modernize the monarchy buckled under pressure and handed those titles over like party favors. It's not just shocking, it's deeply revealing. But why would Meghan do all this in the first place? Why go to such lengths? Some say it's about branding. Others believe she wanted to lock in her royal legacy, not through name, but through influence. Think about it. If the public believes these children are royal, then Meghan, by extension, retains her grip on the monarchy's image. Not officially, but emotionally, culturally, and most importantly, financially. And let's not pretend. The media isn't complicit. The mainstream press continues to treat this story like radioactive waste. No questions asked, no investigations opened, no journalists probing deeper. Instead, they focus on fluff interviews, fashion statements, or Meghan's latest empowerment project. But behind the glam, behind the curated Instagram filters and Vogue-style family portraits, there's a silence that speaks volumes. What happens when that silence breaks? The truth is, people are catching on. They're not fooled by the carefully lit photos, the polished interviews, or the PR-engineered mom moments. They're watching the clips. They're noticing the awkward way Meghan holds her children, like someone cradling a friend's baby for the first time, not their own flesh and blood. There's no instinctive motion, no natural ease. And it's not just once, it's consistent. In video after video, Meghan appears disconnected, almost like the kids are accessories, not extensions of her soul. One particular clip sparked intense debate online. Meghan is seen awkwardly adjusting one of the children, holding them stiffly, while glancing sideways at a handler just off camera. The child, meanwhile, doesn't look at her. Not even once. No clinging, no spontaneous affection, just stillness. That's not what most people expect from a toddler with their mom. That's what you'd expect from a child trained to behave in public or unfamiliar with the person holding them. And it's not like this is happening in a vacuum. There are patterns. Observers have noted that there are rarely any real-time events where Meghan and both children are seen moving, interacting, and behaving like a family unit. Instead, it's always stills, perfect stills. As if the goal was never to show motherhood, it was to sell the image of it. People have even compiled side-by-side comparisons of the children, facial features that seem to shift slightly. Height. Differences within short time spans. Some have speculated that stand-ins may be used for public appearances, especially after one Disneyland video caused a frenzy. In it, the little girl seen holding Meghan's hand didn't resemble the one seen with her the next day. Same location, same event, different dress, different child. That alone might seem outlandish. But then you look at the bigger picture, and suddenly it's not so hard to believe. Let's rewind to the infamous moon bump clip again. The video has been slowed down, stabilized, and examined frame by thousands of viewers. What they found is hard to ignore. As Meghan squats, the belly doesn't shift like skin and muscle. It creases like foam. It folds like fabric. It rebounds like a padded suit. And for many, that was the moment the theory stopped being theory. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, that Meghan used a surrogate. That wouldn't be scandalous on its own. Plenty of public figures do. But here's the difference. There was no honesty, no transparency, no "we chose this path" moment. If she had owned that truth, the world likely would have rallied around her. But instead, what people saw was secrecy, misdirection, and performance. That's when it stopped being about motherhood and became about manipulation. Because once deception enters the picture, the public's trust evaporates. Then came the birth certificate drama. In the US, royal titles aren't considered legal identifiers. But somehow, Archie's and Lilibet's documents included those titles. Insiders say this created so much confusion that US immigration officials supposedly reached out to King Charles for clarity. Let that sink in. A sitting monarch allegedly had to answer questions about paperwork filed in a completely different country. That doesn't happen unless something is seriously off the rails. And where were the hospitals? Where were the doctors, the nurses, the birth confirmations? In royal tradition, it's customary to at least release a brief statement or offer a hospital exit photo, but not with Meghan. With her, we got nothing but a glossy baby photo weeks after the fact, with no context, no location, and no public record to verify any of it. Even in Harry's interviews, things don't quite add up. His descriptions of the births are vague, often skipping key details that any first-time parent would remember vividly. No mention of delivery complications, timings, or hospital staff. Just airy language about being in awe and how incredible Meghan was. It's not wrong, but it's scripted, polished, prepped, and that's the recurring theme, isn't it? Everything feels staged. Harry and Meghan still insist on using their royal titles even after stepping back from royal duties. They still appear on the official royal.uk website. Their bios remain intact. The monarchy, despite all the scandals, all the drama, still lists them as if nothing has changed. No consequences, no distinction, just silence. But silence is no longer enough. The public isn't just curious, they're angry. Not because they care who gave birth to who, but because they're tired of being played. When you build an empire off transparency and truth, and then sell a story that feels increasingly hollow, the people who bought into that story start to rebel. And now, even Meghan's defenders are starting to run out of excuses. The old fallback, she's just a private person, doesn't hold anymore. Because privacy doesn't look like media manipulation, legal ambiguity, or pretending to be pregnant in a hospital hallway during a lockdown. Privacy doesn't include staged photo ops, title touting, and monetized Netflix specials. This isn't privacy, it's performance art. And here's what's most disturbing. If Meghan truly did fake her pregnancies, then it's not just about deception, it's about institutional betrayal, because that means the palace knew. That means the monarchy, supposedly the gatekeepers of tradition and decorum, turned a blind eye. They didn't stop it. They didn't challenge it. They let it slide. And in doing so, they let the most ancient institution in Britain be used as a backdrop for a personal PR campaign. And that raises the most chilling question of all. What else have they let slide? Because once you start looking at this through the lens of institutional betrayal, it stops being a Meghan and Harry problem. It becomes a royal problem, a constitutional one, an ethical one. The monarchy has always relied on tradition, transparency, and public trust. So what happens when that trust is fractured? What happens when people begin to suspect that the palace is just another PR machine, willing to prop up a fantasy to protect its image? And make no mistake, this illusion has been expensive. The Sussexes may have claimed financial independence, but every move they make still draws its legitimacy from royal association. Meghan signs off emails and letters as Duchess of Sussex. Harry insists on security protection, foreign protocol treatment, and international relevance because of his HRH status. They may live in California, but they carry their British royalty like a golden ticket, and they use it every chance they get. But it's not just the optics, it's the timing. Every time public scrutiny increases, every time someone begins to question the narrative, something else suddenly happens. A scandal erupts, a documentary drops, a viral video goes live, like the recent one where Meghan appeared twerking, dressed casually, dancing with exaggerated expressions that felt more like a staged distraction than a candid moment. Just days before that clip made rounds online, new conversations about her alleged fake pregnancies had begun, gaining traction again. Coincidence? Maybe, but probably not. The timing feels too clean, too polished, too strategic. The message? Look here, don't look there. And it works. For a while, the dance video goes viral, people scream on social media, comment sections explode. But then, the questions return, the cracks remain, because no amount of viral dancing can erase the deeper suspicion. Where did these children come from? Because at this point, the speculation isn't just wild guesses. It's layered with dates, photos, timelines, legal documents, and insider testimony. People are creating side-by-side comparisons of Meghan's bump sizes over the months. Analyzing her posture, tracking the inconsistencies in the children's appearances. And it's not just random internet trolls doing it, it's former fans, journalists, royal experts, and even medical professionals. You know it's serious when obstetricians start quietly commenting that nothing about her pregnancy photos seems natural? Her body didn't change the way a typical mother's would. There was no facial swelling, no physical exhaustion, no postpartum weight fluctuation, nothing. And when the silence from the palace continues, it starts looking less like discretion and more like collusion. Let's not forget, this isn't just about Meghan's image, it's about the monarchy's. And if Meghan and Harry really did orchestrate a narrative built on deception, then the palace's decision to let it play out makes them complicit. Not innocent, not unaware, complicit, and that's when things get really dangerous. Because the monarchy's power doesn't rest on law, it rests on belief, on myth, on symbolism. Once you chip away at that, once people stop believing the illusion, the whole structure begins to wobble. We've seen it before. One generation reveres the crown, the next generation mocks it. And right now, with scandals piling up and public trust eroding, the crown is wobbling hard. So the question becomes, why protect Meghan? Why protect this story? Some believe it's fear, that the palace is terrified of being called racist, sexist, elitist, everything Meghan has accused them of in interviews. So they tiptoe, they stay quiet. They let the narrative run wild because the alternative, challenging her, feels too dangerous. Others think it's strategy, that Meghan and Harry still hold leverage, that their children, title or not, are still in the line of succession, that removing them would cause a constitutional nightmare. So the palace waits, endures, silently hopes it all goes away. But it won't, because every time Meghan steps into the spotlight with those children, the illusion continues. Every time Harry defends their right to royal treatment, the illusion gets stronger. And every time the public sees another polished, perfectly lit, painfully unnatural family photo, the illusion grows thinner. The truth is, this isn't just a Meghan problem. It's a monarchy problem. It's a media problem. It's a trust problem. And trust, once broken, doesn't come back easily. Especially when you've convinced the world that your fairy tale was real, only for them to realize it might have been Hollywood from the start. What happens next could very well be one of the most explosive reckonings in royal history, because the truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a habit of clawing its way to the surface. And the longer Meghan and Harry try to maintain this tightly curated image of parenthood, without vulnerability, without authenticity, without proof, the more obvious it becomes that something isn't right. You don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to see it. You just need eyes. And memory. People remember how royal births used to be. The anticipation, the hospital photos, the crowds, the undeniable documentation of a new heir. That's what made the institution feel real, even magical. But this shadowy, stiff, tightly controlled narrative, it doesn't feel royal. It feels corporate. The palace has always walked a tightrope between tradition and adaptation. But now it's not just about evolving, it's about preserving credibility. And with every quiet day, every avoided question, every staged photo, that credibility weakens. If Meghan never gave birth, if these children were born by a surrogate or selected to uphold a facade, then why lie? Why not tell the truth? Why build a brand on deception? The answer may be simple, because the illusion was more valuable than the reality. Having royal children wasn't just about expanding the family, it was about anchoring Meghan to the legacy. It was about claiming space in the narrative, even after walking away from the throne. And for Harry, it may have been about clinging to relevance, to identity, to power. A power he claimed to reject, but clearly never wanted to lose. And now we have a royal couple profiting off that illusion. Book deals, Netflix series, public speaking gigs, all fueled by their image as a modern family, misunderstood by tradition, but still deserving of the crown's dignity. It's a brand, a polished global brand. But what happens when that brand unravels? What happens when the world stops buying the story? You see, the illusion only works as long as people believe. But right now, the belief is fading. The whispers are louder, the questions are sharper, and the tolerance is vanishing. Because people don't want fairy tales, they want the truth. And if that truth turns out to be that Meghan Markle staged pregnancies, used stand-ins, and convinced the world of a royal motherhood that never truly existed, then the backlash won't just land on her shoulders, it will land on Buckingham Palace, on King Charles, on every institution that looked the other way. Or at some point, a reckoning will come. Whether through leaked documents, insider confessions, or an accidental slip, something will break. And when it does, it won't just shake the Sussex brand, it will shake the monarchy itself. And maybe that's what scares the most, because if the truth comes out, and it's worse than people feared, there may be no putting the crown back together again. So until then, the world watches, waiting, connecting the dots, comparing the photos, studying the silences, and asking one simple question that refuses to go away. Who are these children really? And what if we've all been lied to? If you've stuck with this video until now, it means you're one of the few still asking the right questions. The kind of viewer that doesn't settle for surface-level headlines or polished press statements. So don't stop here. Subscribe now for more deep dives into the stories others are afraid to tell. Share this video. Spread the truth. Because if we don't ask the uncomfortable questions, who will? The cracks are already showing, and when the illusion breaks, it won't just fall quietly. It will explode.